All right, can you all see my screen? Okay, perfect. I'm gonna pass it back to Natalie.
Hi everyone, I'm Natalie. I was just in the program this summer and I was interning for the LA office for Senator Adam Schiff, and I'm really happy to see you all. So I'll get started talking a bit about our program. So first, our mission here at Cause is to advance the political and civic empowerment of the Asian Pacific American API community through nonpartisan voter outreach, training, and education, as well as leadership and development. Cause was founded in 1993, and it is comprised of committed professional, business, community, and political leaders, and has established itself as a unique nonpartisan API organization dedicated solely to the API civic and political participation. Cause is based in the greater Los Angeles area, and its influence reaches throughout Southern California. So there are four components for the program that we'll mainly be talking about. I'll start off with the civic leadership workshops. So these will be 2 days a week, and they'll be dedicated workshops with Cause's staff and its network of API leaders. So business leaders, political activists, political electeds, as well as academics. Um, so you really get a lot of people from the API community that's in network with Cause coming and speaking to you. Next, we have the host office experience, which you'll be doing the other 3 days of the week. And interns will be placed um, in a government, private organization, or nonprofit office in Los Angeles. In my cohort, it was all government offices. And again, this will be 3 days a week, and interns will learn about and support civic engagement efforts in their internship placements. Next, there's the civic engagement project, which is the mock campaign. That's how it was for my cohort as well. And basically, interns will work together to develop, plan, and execute a community impact project. And in recent years, this has taken the form of a mock campaign. For my cohort, we were split into two teams, and we were presenting electeds for Assembly District 49, which is known as as a district with a high API population. I happen to be the policy director for my team, in which I was doing research on what policies could fit the district and worked for our platform. But there are multiple positions within the team that you can choose. So you get a really good taste of what it's like to be on a campaign and see if that might be something you want to do. And then lastly, there's the Capital Summit. Interns will also have the opportunity to travel to the state capitol in Sacramento and meet and network with the staff and elected officials who advocate for Asian and Pacific Islander communities across California. It was really great. Not only did we get to meet some very significant electeds and hear from them, we also had the opportunity during our summit to talk to their staffers, including chiefs of staff, policy advisors, um, and we also had the chance to meet with and network with some intern cohorts and staff associations in Sacramento, including APICA, which is the main API staff association um, in the state capital. So those are the four main program components.
On to the next section, which is the alumni panel. I'm gonna pass it over to Ellie, who is going to be moderating that session.
Perfect. Thanks, Andrea. Hi, everyone. My name is Ellie. I'm another 2025 Cause alum. I was placed at the office of Congressman Derek Tran in CA 45, and now I'll be moderating the panelists. So, panelists, if you guys could each introduce yourselves, given your CLA year placement and one key takeaway from the program, that would be great to start us off.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Rachel. I'm a senior at Pomona College, and I was in the most recent year of CLA in the summer of 2025, where I was placed with the Office of California Governor Gavin Newsom. And key takeaways from the program, I would say, are the relationships that I created over the summer, both with my CLA cohort as well as the guest speakers and cause staff. But we'll touch on that a little more throughout.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joyce. I was part of the 2025 CLA cohort, and during my time with CLA, I was placed at the office of LA County Supervisor Hilda Solis. And a key takeaway from the program for me was, and well, it's obviously biased because I was placed in a local office, but the significance of local government and how much change happens at the local level. And I was able to see things move really quickly during my tenure at the office. And so that was amazing to see.
Hi, I'm Emma. I was in CLA in 2023 with Andrea, and I was placed in the district office of Congressman Ted Lieu. And I'm currently a staff assistant for Senator Adam Schiff, in his DC office. I would say cause was super important to me in CLA because it introduced me and welcomed me into a really meaningful political community that I've definitely leaned on throughout college and also gotten just the chance to be a part of through a lot of really meaningful civic engagement and voter education initiatives. And yeah.
Now we're going to talk about host office experiences. So if you all could share a bit about your experience with your host office and, how you engage with them during/after the program, like how was that impactful for you?
So, my host office experience was based in the LA region of external affairs. So, we worked across four different counties: LA County, Ventura County, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Barbara County. And so, it's a pretty big portion of California. And essentially, we make sure that the needs of local stakeholders, which encompasses elected officials, community-based organizations, higher education institutions, so on and so forth. Their needs are essentially heard in all of the governor's legislation that he signs, the budgets that he proposes, so on and so forth. And so that was a really great experience. And I think a really big part of it was the fact that it was a hybrid internship. And so 1 to 2 days of my week would be spent on the field, meeting with these stakeholders or staffing press conferences or staffing events such as roundtables with community leaders, appointments workshops for those who want to apply to state boards. Um, and then the remaining days of my week would be spent working asynchronously, which I spent in the Cause Central office. And I think this was a really wonderful aspect of the program because instead of working from home, I had the opportunity to get to know Cause's mission and Cause's staff. Nancy and Andre on this call a lot more intentionally and intimately beyond those Monday and Friday sessions with my cohort. In terms of my work, I had a lot of agency. So I was power mapping different issues, I was pitching meetings, leading a lot of those meetings. And I think a really big thing is that because California is such a diverse state, it has incredibly diverse needs. So beyond my own experience and interest in education and immigration, I was also working on behavioral health, climate, housing, and with the recent anniversary of the LA fires, a lot of those recovery efforts as well. And so I think it was really cool to dip my hands into everything and get that experience. And in terms of the second part of the question, how much I stay in touch with my host office, um, pretty much every single weekday. I continue to work with them beyond the conclusion of the CLA program in August. And I was part of a really unique pilot where my internship was continued to be facilitated by Cause over the fall semester. And very recently, I was fortunate enough to be offered a return for the spring semester as well. And I think that was really, really great because there's such a huge learning curve with the role. And so the opportunity to get some more experience under my belt now that I'm comfortable and confident in my role has been huge. And I think beyond that, the fall is such a different season. So while in the summer I was doing a lot of research and kind of figuring out who we wanted to meet with, September and October are very heavy legislative bill signing seasons. And so I was out and about in LA much more than the summer for Governor Newsom's press conferences. I'm not sure how many of y'all are California residents, but California is a leader in policy, and we signed a bunch of landmark bills. The No Vigilantes Act, which prevents federal agents from being masked, for example, which a lot of my co-interns in my cohort worked on in their respective offices, which is super, super cool. Phasing out ultra-processed foods, so on and so forth. I think being able to meet the governor is really cool. But yes, I think without causes support, I think that work wouldn't have been able to continue, and the relationship that I have with my supervisor now is so, so strong because of it. We continue to work together, and she serves as a very big, big reference in a lot of my own work and future professional endeavors. So, yeah.
Yeah, so as I shared, I interned in the district office of Congressman Ted Lieu. And some of you may know, a lot of district congressional office internships are very similar in terms of the kind of work that you do. So some of the things that I did was answering phones. That's like a rite of passage. The other parts was like um, helping our caseworkers start the initial part of casework. So district office internships usually like launch inquiries into federal agencies on behalf of their constituents with issues like mail issues, passport issues, visa issues. And so I would support in that way. I also helped with Congressman Liu's Youth Advisory Council, doing the interview and application process for high school students who are applying to that. And so, yeah, just the opportunity to engage in a variety of different constituent facing work. And I would say the office is very open to you being vocal about things that you want to be involved in and see in the office. I know I got the chance to follow some of our field workers into the field or field representatives into different community events that they went to see how the congressman is when he's interacting with constituents in the district. So yeah, lots of opportunities there. I think for me, I knew I wanted to work for a member of Congress or a senator in DC post grad. And I felt really fortunate to be placed at a district office internship because it just is really valuable experience for when you want to be in that space after graduation. The ways that I've been in touch with my internship site, I have maintained a relationship with my supervisor who's written letters of recommendations for me over internships that I did after, as well as the district director, just keeping them in the loop. Again, I knew I wanted to be on the Hill, so I was constantly just updating them once in a while about what I was up to when I had graduated, when I moved to DC, things like that. Other ways that I've stayed involved is those two people in the district office actually introduced me to a lot of people in Congressman Liu's DC office. And so I know their ledge director well as their staff assistant, their ledge assistant. And I think being on the Hill now, it's good to have relationships with other California offices. And I think my internship site really helped me become very familiar with the people in Congressman Liu's office. And I know that like I'll be chatting with their chief soon and like things like that. It's just good to have those relationships. And I know that my host site really helped me get to know Congressman Liu's office really well. Um, the last thing I'll say is getting a job on the Hill is a lot about who you know. And I think this internship definitely helped me meet more people on the Hill. I think the more, the better in terms of who you know. And I definitely helped me as I was preparing to start job search after I graduated from UCLA.
So I'll answer the second part of your question first, which is how do you stay in touch with your host office? I see them every single day from 8:30 to 5:30 because I now work for Supervisor Solis's office full time. I was extended a full-time offer near the end of the program, and so I took it because it was a wonderful opportunity. And my roles and responsibilities when I was an intern and when I'm doing now full time are different, obviously, duh. But during my internship, I was in the main office in the Hall of Administration in downtown LA. And there I was exposed more to the legislative end of things. My work mainly consisted of like writing memos, reading reports, and writing talking points for the supervisor. And it was really great to see both sides of what I do in the district office now versus what I was doing in HOA because I think it gave me a better perspective and understanding of how I can perform in the district office to assist the main like intentions of what they want to accomplish in downtown LA. And I would say my impact in terms of where I was able to have some agency, it was very timely that we had a lecture from Andrea about the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, because in my office, I think it was the anniversary, or it was just the date when it was the anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, and they were like, can someone write like a memo and talking points on this? And I was like, oh, this is going to be so easy to fold up Andrea's slides. And I was writing all of that, and I just spewed it back out. But also an observation that I noticed when I was an intern was that they had no API liaisons in their San Gabriel Valley field office, which is crazy to think about because the San Gabriel Valley is known for being one of the highest concentrations of API population, specifically Chinese. And so, with that knowledge and a little bit of encouragement and confidence, that is where I personally pitched myself and I asked if I could continue the office because I noticed this gap in API representation in this office, and that's where I am now.
Gonna pivot and talk about like y'all's cause experience itself. So if you guys could share more about what you learned from guest speakers or workshops or working on a cause project such as the mock campaign.
I can start this question. And so this year we had a mock campaign where two candidates ran against each other. I was not on the same team as Ellie and Natalie, but it was still such a beautiful experience that was not as stressful or as how do I say, like as antagonistic as a real campaign. And so I think it was a great learning experience, especially as someone who's never worked on a campaign before. And I think it allows you to get your hands dipped into every big component of it, ranging from creating your candidate's narrative to fundraising, preparing for the endorsement panel, and then the day of the election, which I was responsible for as the soiree campaign manager. Um, I think my biggest takeaway from mock campaign itself came from fundraising itself. I'm someone who does not like cold calling whatsoever, but each of us were assigned to reach out to a bunch of folks in the cause network, such as previous interns, board members, and other cause affiliates. And I think it was such a scary feat at first, but it was so rewarding at the end of the day when I would start that phone call and tell them that I was a CLA intern. And I was so scared of just like being a burden and making that ask of a donation or the purchase of a soiree ticket. But these folks are so incredibly enthusiastic and committed to your futures and yourself as a CLA intern. And so I think it really speaks to the strength of Causes Network. And I think to this day, it's taught me to have nothing but audacity. I am not afraid to make those asks now that I'm back on campus. And maybe I'm biased because I am a senior, but I think a lot of it does come from Cause and its mission to make sure that we are at the table for these really hard conversations. And I think being able to get over that hump is something that takes experience and takes those reps. And so making those phone calls was huge. And I think a really big accomplishment of those phone calls was that our 2025 cohort managed to raise nearly $13,000, which contributes to the next generation of CLA interns. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it funds two interns for this summer, which is huge. And I think it's so great that we're able to pay it forward and make sure that Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Native Hawaiian students continue to gain access to careers in public service in the future. So Yes, I'll pass.
Said in 2023, our mock campaign experience was a little bit different, but still like found it very valuable and lots of opportunities to learn a lot and grow a lot. I personally really like working on campaigns, and I found it really fun to do it in the setting with my cohort, who I think every cohort usually ends up becoming really great friends. I think the sessions around the campaigns in particular were really informative, fundraising, getting endorsements, and that translated a lot to the very real opportunities that you get in the program to plan for these real things that you do on campaigns like endorsement panels and fundraisers. And it was just good experience to go to have the opportunity to participate in these kinds of settings, and also just to do it with your friends along the way. As for the sessions, I think they were really great crash courses in a variety of different fields, whether it was policy or data, community advocacy. I think it's just along the way really great early exposure to understand what you might be interested in and what you would want to pursue after CLA throughout college and post grad. I think probably for me the most meaningful part of all of the information, the sessions that we did Monday and Friday, was the opportunity to engage with the speakers after. And I'll probably say this a bunch over the panel, but like when I introduce myself, the most valuable part about cause to me is this introduction into this very wide network of professionals working in a variety of different fields and all doing really great work. And so I'd really always just recommend people who are in CLA to always ask the speakers who come Monday to Friday, honestly, anyone you meet through cause, to get coffee, to chat about their role. It really opens you up to that network and helps you make touch point with a lot of different people in a lot of different fields. And you never know where those relationships will take you into the future. I know like I'm still in touch with many of them and feel close to them. And so, yeah, would just recommend for everyone who's eventually in CLA.
Final question, and you guys kind of alluded to this when you guys talked about host offices, but two of you are post grad and Rachel is almost post grad. How did CLA kind of influence your career path post graduating the program in college? And in what way was the program worth it to you guys?
I can go first for this one. Um, yeah, I have, I think, a different relationship with cause in that cause was actually my first internship. So even before I did CLA, the summer before that, I interned at Cause, the nonprofit. Um, and that came out of a connection that I had with Nancy, a mutual connection, which again, I think speaks to Cause's network. But because Cause was my first internship ever, I really see the organization as the place that kind of helped me start my career, and everything that came after. And so after I had interned, or while I interned at Cause, some of the things that I got to do was inviting the elected officials to the soiree that Andrea was talking about. And so through that, I learned a lot about the structure of California government. I learned a lot about the different elected officials, local, state, and federal, and our relationships with them, how to navigate maintaining a relationship with them as a nonprofit. So that was one thing I learned. The other thing that I worked on was a public comment toolkit that's still alive and well on the college website, and I know is still used, which is always fun to think about, just to think about my work still being there. And I think through cause, the other part of it, I think also to mention is that like again, I had kind of an informal internship setting and that I was just like hanging out at the cause office and was just like getting a lot of great opportunity, a lot of substantive, very formative opportunities and experiences to support cause's work. But it really helped me um, take the next steps in what I did in college. So after that, like I interned for Mayor Bass's finance team when she was running for mayor. And that was just from like someone that we had known. Again, cause network goes far, and I think I'm just really appreciative that cause again was my first internship, and I think really set the path for what I did later on, and definitely set me off on the path of like policy and politics, and obviously, which is like what I'm involved in now. And I think after all these years, basically like all of college, I'm still obviously very in touch with cause and just love being a part of the network and the space, really good friends with Nancy and Andrea. Like I find them to be very supportive. I talk to them all the time about what's going on in my life, professionally or not. And also I
feel like they could ask me to help and support with anything cause related or not, and I would definitely be there. And I think again, just speaks to the network and the relationships that you get from being a part of the community.
The cause network, especially if you are staying in Southern California, is incredibly powerful. Um, for example, like me in my job now, the panelists and the people we would like they would bring over for workshops, I run into these people during my work like all the time. No matter what room I go into, there is somebody I know. And even if they aren't, the fact that I have cause being a cause alumni as a jumping off point, since so many people know who cause is as an organization and are familiar with their work, it brings down this wall. And I immediately have a point of conversation, like a jumping point for my conversation. And so it's just so much easier to connect with individuals. Its cause is almost like an endorsement in a way. People who are in the cause network, you have an idea like, okay, these people are also aligned with our mission in terms of like API voices and legislation to support API individuals, but also cause is an endorsement for me. Like it signifies to other people that this is someone I want to connect with. This is someone I want to speak to and maintain a relationship with. So that has been very, very helpful in my profession. The third takeaway and super beneficial, I'm sure that everybody else will agree with, is your cohort. One of the best parts about cause is the cohort and who you come in with. I remain incredibly close with the people in my cohort. I anytime they're back for break, like we still go hang out all the time. We FaceTime call, we play Roblox. The list goes on. Like you get you it's your intention up to you. Like obviously you can just treat people as your coworkers if that's what you wish. But in my year, I really did make some incredible friends. And it's just so helpful once again to have people around your age who are going through something similar. It's so much easier to navigate the process when you have others who are also experiencing the same thing. You have someone to vent to, you have someone to ask for advice, and you guys can just share what you guys are up to. And lastly, is support after the program. Cause does an incredible job. Once again, this is not me just like gassing them up, or this is my genuine opinion that they have an incredible support system for you after the program. Once again, this is obviously biased because I still am located in SoCal. I work in the San Gabriel Valley and I'm still in like API politics. But for example, Andrea mentioned the haunted Little Tokyo voting event, amongst a myriad of other events that Cause hosts. They make an effort to always keep you in the loop, invite you to these events, so you continue to get to meet more people. You get to continue being ingratiated in the Cause network, seeing familiar faces. But also, it's just the fact that Nancy and Andrea truly are there for you anytime. I literally texted Andrea and Nancy today. Like they are basically there on speed dial and they're always willing to support you, which is such a wonderful feeling to know that there are so many people in your corner.
So I have no idea what I'm doing post grad, which is very real and very scary. But I think it's not something that I am constantly worried about because I know that I have such wonderful folks at my fingertips in the case that I just flop post grad. And I think I'll start with the relationships that I have with my cohort. I think the 14 other folks are so incredible, and this extends beyond my immediate cohort into past CLA alum as well. I think Cause is very intentional in making sure that we stay in contact with one another, whether through our like post cause check-ins 3 months after or through different events. Through the extension of my internship into the fall, I had the chance to work on this thing that Cause puts on called Haunted Little Tokyo, which this year, if you are going to be 21, mark your calendar for October 31st, the biggest, I don't know if it's the biggest, but the one of the biggest Halloween functions in LA. It's so incredibly fun and it's a really big meeting grounds for CLA alum. I know so many folks in my cohort volunteered there to educate folks on Prop 50, and I think it's a really beautiful thing to continue that collaboration after the internship, especially given that we're all over the country. And so being able to lean on these relationships is really cool, especially given that a lot of folks in my cohort are also continuing their work with their host offices. So that currently serves as like a conduit for collaboration across different levels of government. So, in one of my previous answers, I mentioned that I worked a bunch of press conferences in October, and there I ran into so many different elected officials that my co-interns worked in the district offices for. And I think because I have that relationship with my co-interns, Senator Sasha Renee Perez and Assemblymember Jessica Caloza immediately recognized me when they were signing in at the front. And I think that wouldn't have happened if my cause co-interns didn't do such an incredible job in their host offices and establish that connection with me. I have Senator Perez's hair routine, which is super cool now because of that. But I think in terms of relationship building, it doesn't stop with my cohort. I still have such a close relationship with a lot of the CLA guest speakers as well. One of which most notably is Jason Pereira, who is an American Samoan artist. And we've been in talks of trying to figure out an artist in residence at Pomona College, which is really cool. But he does such incredible work across Southern California. And I think being able to see how accessibility to sharing our community's experiences and history and culture goes beyond verbal and written accessibility is really cool. And so I think I'll like close out my answer with like how this program was worth it was just leaving with the confidence of knowing that wherever I end up post grad, I'm going to be so okay. And whether that's attributed to the skills I've gained from this internship, the network I've created, or just like this self-esteem that I now have from working in public service for an extended amount of time, I think a lot of it has really grown over this summer. And California is such a huge state, LA is such a big city, but it becomes so small after this internship. Like everyone knows everyone, everyone knows Nancy and Andrea especially. And so that has been so crazy to experience post CLA. But I think, again, attest to the strength and the breadth of Cause's network.